did you have to create new classes that you'll have to take, or was it just a combination of existing stuff and your ensemble courses that it all kind of fit together? Like, how hard was it to do?
Yeah, so it was a combination of existing courses and ensemble courses. And part of this was really cool because there were a number of classes I had taken freshman and sophomore year that I just kind of taken for fun because they were interesting, that I realized these work. So these classes I had taken just for fun with my extra time that I had because of COVID and other reasons, they ended up fitting in perfectly
Right.
to create this major. Um, and another thing too is that with like when the registrar's office, the provost office, when they see there's more interest from students pushing for that environmentals minor or that environmental studies major, then they see like, okay, this is an area, even though there's no like official major, there's official minor, but like no official department or anything, there is a lot of interest here. So that makes them more likely to direct some of the budget of classes towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was not my initial reason for doing it, but that was kind of like, oh, that's a thing. So now that like there's more and more interest, I think there's 3 other people are in the process of making a proposal for the major.
Mm.
We're able to do more environmental studies classes. So 2 that are being offered next fall that I think haven't been offered before are environmental ethics and sustainable agriculture. So it's cool.
That's really
I'm not
cool.
taking either, but it's still cool to just have that happen.
Yeah, that's really,
Yeah.
so if you were a student at another school that didn't have the major, what would your advice be to them? And they wanted to create a major. Like, it's hard to push what you did. I think most people would, it's kind of daunting to think that you're creating this new thing. But I guess your experience shows that it's doable.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is that like student effort, when it's met with effort from faculty or professor, that was like the biggest thing for me, is that when I had a professor who said, yes, like we can do this, we can work together to make this possible, then I was like, shoot, like let's do it.
Right.
And so if other students can find a prof that are passionate about environmental studies or anything in that area, or can find just one person that's like working there to kind of back them up, then I think that would be a big first step, just to kind of get the ball rolling with someone who's on the other side of things.
Yeah. Well, we love it. One of our goals here at El Sabo is that our partner schools have strong environmental studies programs. So we're thrilled when we hear of efforts like this, and we want to be supportive of you. I think I've told you that before, is if we can help you in any way, we'd love to do it. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
How did you how did your interest in environmental issues and caring for the earth get started? When you came out of high school, did you know this was an area you were interested in, or when you showed up at Westmont, did it kind of blossom?
So my interest in the environment and I guess environmentalism started a long time ago. A lot of times I've written the essay that starts with, in my earliest memory, I'm staring up to the night sky illuminated by billions of stars, which, yeah, my earliest memory, I was up in the Sierra Nevada, which are 2 hours away from where I live, from where I grew up. And I was with my family attending a star talk, astronomy talk, just about the stars. And that was near Kings Canyon National Park, kind of like between Kings Canyon and Sequoia, at a Christian camp there called Hume Lake, which is where I was supposed to work. Didn't work out.
What's it called? What lake? Hume?
It's called Hume Lake.
Okay.
And so that's a place that my family's been very involved with. I've grown up going there multiple times a year. My family used to live there before I was born. I have two older brothers who are 7 and 10 years older, and so they kind of grew up there. I was the reason they moved down. Whatever. Um,
I'm sure they let you know
anyways,
that a lot, reminded you.
yeah. Anyways, all that to say, I spent a lot of time up in the mountains in the Sierras, up near Hume and at Hume growing up. And so, what this would mean would be going to Star Talks hosted by one of the staffers, or I spent hours and hours along the little creek catching tadpoles and bullfrogs, um, hiking around the lake, catching little western fence lizards, like little bluebelly guys. Um, my mom would take me to trips to the sequoia trees, which are not even an hour away,
Mm,
and I would walk through the sequoias,
mm,
and she took me to Kings Canyon, and we would go to the caves and explore like the cool things that hang down and the rock formations that build up. And um, we would go hiking and we go quadding in the backcountry with my parents, and
mm.
all these different things is kind of how I grew up. Um, so I've just always loved being outside, being outdoors, being in the mountains, especially is where I feel most at home. So I don't have an experience of like where this directly translated to this is what I like studying,
Mm.
but I know that that's a big reason for that.
Yeah.
Um, in high school, the best teacher I had in high school, amazing teacher. She was my biology prof, not prof, biology teacher, and I had her for bio, AP bio, and zoology, and just got to sit under her teaching. And she really just like her passion really inspired me to dig deeper into studying biology, and that was why I studied or went into studying biology in college. That was like the reason that I can think of, but I know that my upbringing had a big role in that.
Yeah.
um,
I think we've got similar experience, especially related to the, like a really passionate high school teacher can really influence your
Two
life.
big things, absolutely, yeah.
And spending time outdoors. You grew up in a really beautiful area.
Hmm.
So you were really blessed with that. The ability to, something about being outside at night, looking up at stars has a way of getting into your soul. And the ability
Absolutely.
to hear things that you would otherwise miss in life. That's really cool. And your family, you had sounds like a really supportive, family
Hmm.
that encouraged this. Some students I talk with, their family doesn't really understand their love of the outdoors and their
Yeah.
desire to learn more about and protect the created world. But it sounds like that was, your family was really a part of that and nurtured that. That's really
Hmm.
great.
Yeah. And a big part of that too is that for my parents, um, a big way they're Christians. I come from a Christian family, so a big way for them to teach at least me. I don't really know as much from my brother because I wasn't there
Mm-hmm.
when they were young. Um, but a big way that they taught me about God was not like, I mean, it was through other things like church and whatever, but like a big avenue they did that with was to teach me about creator. They wanted to teach me and show me creation. Um, and so that was a big part of growing up.
Yeah. What,
Yeah.
when you look at, I'm always curious, what do you see as a challenge you face as a young Christian who's committed to serving, protecting, and restoring the earth? What are the challenges you see in life or in your career or just overall? Do you have challenges?
This is a great question, and I got some time to think about it. And taking maybe just like a tiny step back, I think like the biggest one, or at least in my experience, the biggest challenge that I faced as a Christian emerging in science, like kind of combining like Christianity and science like in the same sphere is
Mhm.
a lot of times, well, Jesus calls his disciples, he says, you should be known, you should like people should know you by your love for other people.
Mm.
And in America today, like American Christianity today, I don't think that when people think of Christians, that love is necessarily the first thing they think about. Um, I think it tends to be more of when they think of Christians, they think of, I don't know, political identity that they tie it to,
Mm.
or being overly judgmental, or I don't know, science denying
Mhm.
or whatnot. And whether or not these things are true that people think about Christians of being, whether or not they're true or not, I'm not arguing either way or the other, but like even if it's true or not, I still think that that's how people view Christians.
Mhm.
Um, and so for me, like the biggest thing is I think that Christians are supposed to be ambassadors for Christ, and we are called to represent Christ as best as we can. And to me, the biggest challenge is doing that well with like the perspective that people have of Christians. For young
Mm.
Christians growing up into that, that can be challenging, kind of growing into that view that people have of us.
Mm.
Um, so trying to flip people's perspectives and showing it like, yeah, Christians, we are known by our love. We are loving people. We are forgiving people. We are patient and accepting and all of these things that Christians are supposed to be. I think that to me, that's kind of the biggest challenge that I see
Mhm.
as a young Christian moving forward into environmental science and chemistry or biology or whatever it's going to end up being.
Yeah. Anything
But
as
yeah,
far as just the broader world, just a lot of the news that you read in general is really hopeless feeling, and particularly related to environmental issues. It can feel heavy.
mhm.
Anything you see in the world for someone who's going into the or likely going into this field in biology and environmental studies,
Mhm.
what gives you hope or a little way?
That's
Maybe
a great
that's too,
question.
I guess it's just hard. I mean, a lot of the students we talk to just have, yeah, just have a sense of anxiety and fear about the future. Um,
Yeah, I think that's very real. Um, I think something that gives me hope is that like I don't like relying on technology or human innovation too much to get us
mhm,
out of the problems that we've dug ourselves into.
mm,
But there is just technology that's being created that I think can help us. Um, that is still expensive, and that we don't necessarily know like all of the caveats of it yet, and we haven't like put it into full use yet. But like there's stuff that seems like can be done and can be helpful. Um, it feels like and like the little I don't know, my generation, I say my generation, but like the people that I interact with,
mhm,
um, the spheres of interaction I have on social media, it feels like my generation is just aware of the problems and is wanting to make change. Um, but so much of like, and we know of individual action that we can do, but so much of the action that will make like real, like big change, like
mhm,
individual things I do, that's only a fraction
mhm,
of a percent of the problem. So things that can make big change, that feels, that's where it's like, that's where the despair and the feelings of helplessness come in.
mhm,
And when we see things in the news or we hear about people who have made changes in policy or in regulations or new organizations or things that come up that try to help fix things on like a larger institutional scale.
Mm-hmm.
And when we see people who do that honestly and who do it well and who do that, then that's encouraging. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's important, I think, to have. It's just important to me that you don't get discouraged at the enormity of the challenge of changing policies and institutions and laws, which are, like you recognize, those are needed. And at the same time, it's also needed that you, on top of that, that you work in the garden at Westmont, and that there's beauty. That effort needs to be applauded as well.
Yeah.
The authenticity question. One of our goals at Ensemble is about being authentic with each other, and showing up as the awkward, unfinished, and complex people that we are. And if I just look at you and sitting in a beautiful grove in Santa Barbara, triple majoring at Westmont College, you seem like you have your act together in a lot of ways. So I'm curious if you've completely fooled me. Is there any part of you that feels unfinished or awkward or complex?
Oh yeah, definitely. I sit here talking to you from beautiful Santa Barbara as a triple major with a very heavy sense of imposter syndrome. Feeling like, I don't know how that's defined, but people talk about that, and I feel like I relate to that, where it's like I have these like, okay, triple major, but there's a lot of things that I feel like I'm not able to do. There's a lot of experience I feel like I haven't had, especially with COVID, with like all of my labs being online or canceled, or stuff, just classes being online, which you just don't learn as well. And I just feels like I'm in my second semester, my third year, and I don't always feel like I'm a second semester, third year student,
Right.
Who's a triple major. And I think a lot of college students feel that way. So, but I definitely feel that. The awkward question, just by like I am awkward. Put me in like a one-on-one situation, I'm good to go. Put me in like a group of more than 4 people and I'm freaking out. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, because you come off, just knowing you don't seem to, you seem to have your act together, and it's helpful, and you do have your act together, but I appreciate your willingness. Yes, I think it's good for people to be authentic, and on the outside, just looking at where you are and what you're accomplishing, everyone has, it's hard. I mean, life is hard, and particularly in the challenges we face, it's not easy. So thank you for being honest about that.
Yeah, I will say one more thing too, is, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember. I mean, I'm in my third year of college, and people all the time ask you like, oh, so what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with your majors? What do you want to do after you graduate? Like, what career do you want? And the amount of times that I've said I have no idea to that feels very debilitating. That feels very stressful. That feels very like, oh shoot, I'm behind. I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And my triple major, which sounds cool, a big part of that is driven by fear of, if I'm being honest, it's driven by fear of, oh shoot, what happens if I graduate and like I don't know what to do? Like, I need to be prepared. I need to have the ability to change directions if I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So if I'm just being completely honest, a large
Yeah,
part of that is driven by fear of the unknown, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get that. And that's why I try to ask, one of my questions is, what is the next right thing for you? It's because I don't like asking students what is your, there's just a heaviness and weight to that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
But I would love, if is just what's the next right thing, whether that's just
Yeah.
for today, whether it's for, I know this summer you're applying for a position at that garden.
Mhm.
That looks
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for
what's,
doing that, by the way. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
happy to do it. You'd be perfect for that. So the next right thing, what do you see as the next right thing for you?
Yeah. So I read that and I recognized how it was worded, and I appreciate that. And I will speak for other college students in my position. We appreciate the way that's worded. Um, so yeah, the next right thing for me is, well, first things first, I'm trying to get through this semester.
Yeah,
This will probably be the just the most crazy, difficult semester that I will have while at college. And I'm about halfway done, and so just trying to get through it. Um, but at the same time, I'm trying to be present where I'm at, and I'm trying to enjoy where I'm at in life right now. Like, I'm studying things that I love studying about. I'm living in a beautiful place that who knows if I'll be able to afford living here after graduation, and
mm-hmm.
all these things. So it's like a tough balance of I'm ready to get through the semester, but I am only in undergrad once,
Yep,
and I'm only in this position once. So I'm trying to live where I'm at right now without having my head in the future too much, which I
yeah,
tend to do. Um, so yeah,
great.
I'm exploring different areas of interest. I'm glancing at graduate programs in areas that interest me, just trying to see like what's out there. Um, I'm trying to invest more time into my relationships with my friends here at school and friends at home and with my family. I'm trying to not spend all my time doing schoolwork
Yeah,
and enjoy where I'm at.